Lucky you.
36 best
Tune
holes in
into
golf.
Alternate Shots podcast,
Barney's Army.
where we talk about
Sandy.
golf, poker,
James Bond.
horse racing,
Double.
classic movies.
Zenyatta.
We have no script.
Down the stretch they come.
We are glad you joined us.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Lord Billy, this is a happy episode 73, because we're going to recap the Travers and tell people how smart we are. Without further ado, I want to share a clip.
Hi, cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger. Right there. You got a smile on your face because you know a million cheeseburgers in any old track or any old gambling parlor, OTB back in the old days, right? What are the names of people that you collected along the years in this line, which is the betting line? And this is a betting window.
Well, in the old days, they had denominations of windows. Now it's any window or any phone or any app or any living room. So the characters aren't as present as they were back in the days in OTB and stuff, where you had Murray the Mouth or Jerry the Cipher, or Jerry the Cipher at OTB years ago would argue with everything, even his own points, but and this mortal lock or that mortal lock or why the race was fixed. And this movie, Let It Ride, kind of covers every aspect of the track, from off-track bars to on-track, the privileged seat holders in the dining room, and the guy down at the rail making room for people, making a lot of money, and Richard Dreyfus, the great character who does a lot of siphoning himself. He figures out what the guy selling the cheat sheets makes and what the guy pushing everybody over for $1 makes every day. This is a great, great movie that really captures the underside, the underbelly of and humor of the racetrack, especially scenes like this.
They really didn't miss anything. And for those who don't know what a big guy down at the rail, which is where you can see the horses go by. Now, in the scene at the rail, was that near the finish line and the start line so they could see both?
Yeah, that's where everybody would want to be.
They had a big guy. Just think of bigger than Shaq O'Neal guy.
Yeah.
10-foot arms. And what does he do? He goes up there and you give him $5 and he makes a space and he goes, and literally 8 people push that way and 8 people push that way.
Like dominoes.
Richard Dreyfus, who's kind of like the degenerate businessman type of guy, or guy's got a job but he comes over for a few races, and then you got the real degenerate cheeseburger with the Sammy Davis around his neck, right? He's just hysterical. But these are not made up characters. These are in if you went to a racetrack in Bali, or if you went to a racetrack in California or in Florida or in New York, these characters are all there.
Darwin, had the theory of evolution. I believe there are certain traits in people. I mean, you see people that remind you of other people all the time, and the ones that are track rats. I don't mean that in a degrading way. Everybody's got, or poker players, they all have a similar gene. Their personalities aren't all the same, but they have a personal gene that tends to drive them towards places like this, and they can tolerate, as my wife would hate to tolerate, spit on the floor or cursing or litter. No race, color, creed doesn't matter. Nothing matters except, can they get a winning bet down, and can they get it down in time? And the different versions of how they go about that, whether they take tips or whether they think they are tips. There are stories of racetrack touts, they call them, that would find suckers at the track and give 10 different suckers different bets. So one of the horses that he gives out is going to win. Then he goes back and finds the sucker and makes him pay for the next pick. All sorts of stuff like that going on. Again, much more in the olden days when you had to go to these lines. Now people bet on their phones, or the windows are all betting and all cashing. So, it's different as everything else is. But the characters and the characters are still all out there.
Yeah,
in one form or another.
A little bit. This suit looks a little polyester with the guy with the big wad of bills and the cigar and he's perfect. I would just say that guy, after he did the filming of this movie, the first thing he did is he went to the track. That's how good an actor this guy was.
Right.
And then
And Richard
Cheeseburger.
Dreyfus is trying his best to get dressed up
Yeah.
with a jacket that got pressed, in 1400.
I don't think he slept the night before this, but let's roll some
If he did, he slept in that jacket.
Hey, Trot. Trot. Who you like in the first, huh? Who you like?
like,
Come on, tell me. Come on, it's cheese. Trot, who you like? Come on, tell me. The number 4. The number 4.
whispering.
Nobody in his right mind. That's the 4 horse. The 4 horse is a joke, Trotter. This guy. They put little kids on the 4 horse to have their pictures taken.
I mean, that is absolutely gold, and you've heard that a million times. And have you ever been in a betting line when you were going in with a horse in mind and you overheard something and you changed your betting strategy like in this line?
That would be called the kiss of death. The last thing you want to do is hear somebody's opinion when it's like the caddy telling you it's uphill right as you're taking the putter back. It's too late to get any information at that point. I have been at a window when I first started playing this with my friend Watson, and I really liked the horse, so I made a $20 bet to win on him. And I went back and told Watson. He goes, "Billy, I don't think that horse can beat Star Spangled." So in my infancy at the game, I went back and put $50 on Star Spangled. Maybe the only time in my life I had 2 win bets on the same race. And Star Spangled won and went into my horse racing Hall of Fame that day. But I learned a lot about being a little bit more careful about being dogmatic about a race or a pick. But the last thing you want to hear is someone else's opinion after you've made up your own mind. I turn the sound off. When I watch the races on TV now, on TVG or any of those places, I have to mute them because I don't want to know what their selections are.
I know.
Or in some instances, I do what Richard Dreyfus does. I listen to their selections and throw them all out.
Right. So let's look at your selections here. We're going to run it a little bit, and I'll stop it when we get to the Travers, because we did talk about the Travers, and we had some good ideas, you particularly.
Why did she not enter Arcangelo in the Derby or the Preakness?
So that was the question I had for you, for Jenna, the trainer of Arcangelo.
Jenna Anatucci, great trainer.
Great trainer. And let's just roll this a little bit, and we'll see what you had to say about that.
Because she is such a good trainer, she didn't think the horse was ready yet, and she prepped it for the Belmont, and then stole all the cookies. And just so I know there's a lot of hype about the woman trainer thing. Horse racing, like poker, the bettor doesn't care what color, what sex, or anything else the trainer is. For me, as a handicapper, I have never been deterred by a woman trainer for any reason whatsoever. I look at the horse, I look at the trainer's record, I look at the trainer's style. So make no mistake about it, women are equal on every level in horse racing.
Well, no, that was our prior episode 3 days before the Travers, and you were talking about this, and you had done your homework, and you really were bullish on this trainer. Thought the horse could win, which is the Belmont, right? She really focused on that, just like Jack Nicklaus used to focus, and then Tiger later on the majors. And many of these pros, we'll talk about them later, they try to get their game peaking before the Masters or before the PGA, which is the second one now, or the US Open or the British Open. Yeah,
literally the best information for betting for me in the world is, and you can't always find this, is when you have a trainer that aims a horse for a specific race. Now, they're all trying to win the Belmont and so and such and such, but oftentimes you'll hear a trainer say they were aiming for this race. And that's what she did with Arcangelo for the Belmont. She was focused on that. She wasn't focused on the Derby first and the Preakness. She aimed for the Belmont and hit a bullseye. Time owners to start giving them the big time horses, and Arcangelo seems to be one of those right now. I really don't see a limit to this horse's success. I still feel that way.
You were very confident, Arcangelo. You talked about National Treasure. Now, National Treasure really never got in the lead in this race. It was basically 3/4 of the race was led by Scotland, right?
Which I thought might happen. Scotland, I thought was quicker, and everybody was saying Baffert's going to get the lead with National Treasure, but he would have run himself out either way. National Treasure, as it turns out, it's easier to look back to read the red board, as they said, never had a chance in this race. Never had a chance because he was never going to get a clear lead, and he can't make up the ground the same way as Arcangelo and Forte and Disarm coming from off the pace. And Disarm coming from off the pace was a surprise to the bettors. It wasn't so much a surprise to me. Thankfully, I had that exacta pretty cold because I trusted, again, the trainer, Steve Asmussen, the world's leading trainer, and the horse's numbers were getting better and better, and he was not tried. And as Jenna Anatucci said in an interview afterwards, she was not concerned with Mage, Forte, and National Treasure. She already had walloped them. So her concern was Disarm and Scotland. The horse that messed me up and surprised me the most was Tapit Trice. That horse ran a big race for third, messed up all my superfectas, but
Right.
I'm okay with that.
Could have come in second. Let's take a look at the beginning of the race. This is them loading up. You can see that.
Yeah,
Right.
now I haven't watched this, but I read Ortiz, I think, was on the rail. I think he comes out and sort of gets in Arcangelo's way right out of the gate, or tries to. So let's watch for that.
And also take a note of how Forte loaded up.
Here's Scotland going in. They're in the gate. Forte is acting up, settles down. And they're off in the Travers. And Forte comes out smoothly, Scotland on the outside. And National Treasure is prominent in between them, but it will be Scotland.
Yeah, so Scotland's right there, and I don't know what you pick up on that start and the first 1/8 of a mile here, Billy.
Like I said, the one horse came out to his right, sort of cutting off the two horse. I believe the way I read Ortiz rides that was intentional to, just to get him a psychological edge.
For
Irad's a bit of a rough rider. Yeah, Irad was on Forte. And if you watch
so you saw Forte come out, you saw him very jittery. They couldn't start the race right when they wanted to because he was jumping around like he hadn't,
right,
had seen a ghost.
But he broke out to the right, which might have inhibited the two horse a little bit. It turned out not to be anything meaningful. But Irad will do that. He'll try and take the lane away from another horse. They call it race riding.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've said, he's been called in front of the stewards for, overdoing that from time to time. But, that's part of the life. Some guys are like that. Some guys are not as aggressive.
Let's take a look later on with maybe a half mile left and see what you have to see in this race, basically to the end.
Forte has shuffled all the way back to last. He's just behind Disarm, 5 lengths front to back as they head to the half-mile pole in the Midsummer Derby. And Scotland continues to lead narrowly. National Treasure now pushed along for a little bit more. Tapit Trice makes it 3 right across the track. Arcangelo will go 4 wide, but he's making some nice headway, and there goes Arcangelo on the outside along with Tapit Trice. Forte still has 4 lengths to find. He's starting to warm up, just got a crack as he'll come 5 wide into the stretch.
Right there, do you see anything?
Arcangelo got lucky in the Belmont. I say got lucky. The rail opened up for him. He was winning that race anyway, but as Jenna Anatucci said, they were expecting to have to go wide in the Belmont, but all of a sudden the rail opened up and he went right through and ate him alive. He was in that position again, but this time he wasn't taking a chance on the rail opening up. So if a little behind where they are now, when Arcangelo decides to come out around the horses, that's when the race was over. You can watch the acceleration in that horse. He was just like, whoops, here he goes. Say good night, everybody.
Scotland, Arcangelo, in between them, it's Tapit Trice. Forte still 5 lengths back and Disarm trying to come through a narrow opening as Arcangelo has opened up a 3-length lead. And it's the Belmont winner in charge. Disarm gets loose late and is coming with a menacing bid. It's Arcangelo and Disarm 1-2. Arcangelo.
Yes, and Frank Miramati, the track announcer, likes to be dramatic, and often that's nice. But that menacing bid they could have gone around the track again. Disarm was never getting by Arcangelo, and except for racing luck, I don't expect to see Arcangelo lose to anyone he's faced yet. The horse looks to be really good.
4 in a row. What race will be the next race you think Arcangelo will run in?
The next logical place for him will be the Breeders' Cup in November. But again, this trainer is very good. She's very wise, and she's smart enough to know, they're going to press her and press her. You're going to the Breeders' Cup, you're going to the Breeders' Cup Classic against older horses. It's going to be a tough race, best horses, blah, blah. And she will just continually say, we're going to let the horse tell us. That's how good she is. She cuts through basically all the publicity kind of stuff and gets right down to business. If the horse is ready for that, if the horse comes back from this race well and trains well and shows her, I want to go, they'll go. And that's the other thing that people have noticed about this horse, the clockers who watch them train in the morning, the outriders and the jockeys all say this horse is all about, loves this. This is what the horse wants to do. So, it's like a baseball player in batting practice, like running like it's the game.
All right, good. Well, this is great recap. We got it right this time. We don't have a system, but we talked it through. And best of all, unlike the Kentucky Derby, we listened to our own podcast. You won some exactas with Arcangelo and Disarm. That's the 6 and the 2 here. And that paid pretty good, $36.20 for a $1 bet.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a nice return.
And Arcangelo paid $7.40 for, was it a $2 bet?
Yep. And you'll never see that again.
The Billy, we covered a lot of ground here. We recapped the Travers. I just go back to the opening scene when we were watching Dreyfus in line, the $2 or the betting line.
I'm having a very good day.
Hey, Trot. Who you like in the first, huh? Who you like? Come on, tell me. Come on, it's cheese. Trot, who you like? Come on, tell me. Number 4. The number 4.
Whispering.
Nobody in his right mind. That's the 4 horse. The horse is a joke, Trotter. This guy.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
Thanks for joining us
Casper.
today.
Billy
We
Harmon.
really appreciate your
Double
feedback.
Indemnity.
And please
Arky.
subscribe to the
Two
show
Router.
and hit the
Claude
bell
Harmon.
icon so you get notified.
Movie Classics.
New episodes.
Mark Gable.
Hit them
On
hard
Job.
and hit them off.
Best 36 holes.